Hey there, welcome to the Workstation Podcast brought to you by theworkforge.com. On today's episode, we have Shane Grant. Shane's awesome. Shane is such a passionate guy about machining, engineering, and all things manufacturing. Really, he started off as a machinist and then owned his own company, machining.
The Workstation Podcast, brought to you by theworkforge.com.
Shane, absolute pleasure to have you on the Workstation Podcast with that beautiful backdrop and those shiny, spangly machines. Man, blew my mind this morning, it really did. So to open things up, apart from sat where you sat, because it's amazing, what's the coolest thing to happen to you recently?
I mean, this is the coolest thing to happen to me recently. Just moving into this space it has been a huge transition for our company. I started my business in a small pole building behind my home, and really didn't know what I wanted from that when I initially started it. It was just a space that I felt like we could start something special and create something special. And I realized after a certain point that, there was limitations with that space. And so we started to think bigger and kind of project what we wanted the future to look like. And so when you look behind you, this is what that was. This is that vision. And I'm just so thankful to be able to sit here today and to know that we're moving in that direction to create a space that is just this very modern manufacturing space that people can come and be a part of.
How many machines are you up to now?
I currently have 7 CNC machines. I've got a couple of other ones that are sitting up front that we're not sure if we're going to hang on to or not, but we've got an additional space up front that we will be finishing some renovations. Most of our CNC machines are milling machines, but I just did pick up a brand new ST25Y Haas so that we've got some live tooling capacity in our lathes, so that way we can just minimize some of the back and forth between different machines and just be more efficient with the way that we process our parts.
Keep it all in a one-shot system. Fantastic.
You got it.
So here we're all about careers. We're all about, if you want, trying to get people into manufacturing and show that it's cool. And I think that visual there is kind of a picture speaks 1,000 words, as the phrase goes. So obviously, speaking about you and going back on your career, starting from the beginning, you tell us how you got into manufacturing and your journey. And was this always the plan for you?
So my family started a company when I was just in my early teens. And I think initially it was just, I thought that maybe I could go and make a little extra money on the side. I started sweeping floors, and as time went, there was opportunity to get out on some of the Bridgeports. I mean, we were using tape read machines, engine lathes, and some really old-fashioned equipment. But those were, for me, they were working. There's just a fundamental there that I think gives you an understanding of how manufacturing works and how you just feel, tooling moving across steel and just to that cut and just that engagement. It's a really, I think for me, a great balance, because I did start in such a very raw and organic manufacturing space to move into a very technical manufacturing space that's like behind me, to have that history. But, I didn't know that was what I wanted to do at first, but I knew I had a skill for it. And the more time I spent working in it and the more skills that I started to develop, you develop a confidence in that space, and you kind of develop an understanding of what you can accomplish in that space. And I started to fall in love with it, realized that it wasn't just about manufacturing and making things. There's a creative aspect to manufacturing that I think people don't quite really wrap their mind around. And so for me, it was a great outlet for me to be creative and to take, raw materials and turn it into something, really unique. So, now at this point, I mean, we're just now getting to the point where our company is not only servicing making parts all over the country, but we're starting another company where we're creating our own product, just with that whole mindset of just having a space to create. So we're excited about that.
And is that something that through your journey in manufacturing, going from a machinist to an engineer to, a company owner and a trainer and employer of people, is that creativity, that's, if you want, that pride, something that's kind of underpinned every step of your journey?
I think that as I've gone through the process, when I was younger, developing that skill, it was a creative outlet for me, but I didn't really know the extent of what I could do within that space. And so I had to move to a couple different companies When I started, it was all automotive. And then after I left automotive, I went into an industrial space. And each one of those places had, I had huge lessons and gave me a really good perspective on how to manufacture in each of those industries. And then I ended up in a aerospace and medical manufacturing company. And I think after that, that's when I realized I was like, okay, I've kind of been through it all. I've seen it all. And there was something missing for me. I felt like every time I was within these spaces, there was always something I was searching for, or something more that I needed from it that I couldn't get from those companies. And culture was one of them. That was something for me that was really important, not just being able to be creative, but being in a place where I was allowed to be creative. And so this is another, aspect of what I wanted to do here is I not only wanted to be able to have a manufacturing space that had a great culture, but where people could feel creative and free to speak about things that they were excited about and things that they wanted to try, and don't feel like there's any, hesitation to, try something new. So we're definitely, we think outside the box with the way that we process, the way that we do our work. And I open that up to my team too, to feel like this is a creative space, not just a space to come in and work.
And do you think that's added to part of your culture? Because the first thing you said today, you guys enjoy mimosas to kick off on Friday, which is awesome, man. So, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But as well as having that amazing thing on a Friday, do you also say that kind of that creative and the ability to look at a job and, okay, so this is the traditional way of approaching the job with the toolpath, the selection, etc. Would you also say, well, hang on, if you've got a different idea, let's hash it out and let's see if it'll get a better or more efficient or result? Is that something that's ingrained in the culture of your company?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, my team, I've been around and I've been doing this a long time, but I love it when somebody comes with other ideas, because I think that everybody has a different way of looking at something and how to peel that, onion back and really kind of find a way to create something. And then, so if somebody has a better idea, a different idea, we always entertain that, because I love to see everybody have an opportunity to engage in what it is that we're trying to create, and not feel like there's just one way to do this. There's a million ways to do it. And that's, I think, another great part of manufacturing is everybody can have a different idea and you can still get the same result.
Well, I think the journey as well, you've come from, you mentioned the automotive, the aerospace, the medical, and all probably other industries dialed in there as well. Now, in those industries, you've got a different pace, you've got different regulatory requirements, you've got different materials, you've got different tolerances. Do you think all that's kind of combined in a melting pot to make your business and what it is, and you've taken bits from those and kind of refined your steps along the way to get you where you are today, and you're then passing that on through machine and momentum to both your staff, but also your customers as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm really thankful that I got to experience, starting out in automotive. I mean, just the automotive, which is the production and the paperwork and the amount of requirements that come with something like that. It was overwhelming. And as a young man, going through that process, it was definitely something that took me some time to kind of wrap my mind around. But I always felt like I had the capacity for it, and so moving out of automotive into industrial, it was almost like a step back a little bit. And then I felt like a little bit more raw and organic with the industrial space, because there wasn't the tight tolerances. It was more or less just, let's just see how we can pound on material, and see what we can create. Right? That's exactly it, And so then it was another shifting gear from, industrial into aerospace and medical. And through that transition, I mean, I was just getting started in CAD CAM programming, and just getting to the point where prior to that, it was all something I was doing at the machine, because back in the late 90s, CNCs were obviously still very new, and there was a lot of technology being developed. And so I learned the old fashioned way of plugging it in number by number and trigging and calculating things out. So I feel like that was another great building block for me. And then once you start to get some of those more advanced tools where you can take a CAM software and you can start to really articulate how, you want to manipulate a piece of material. It was for me as in the early 2000s, then that transitioned into technology where the internet had kind of taken over and things were taking on this very, modern way of manufacturing. I stepped right into that, and that kind of what launched me into the medical and the aerospace area, where I got to really explore some really heavy and complicated programming that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that kind of set the tone for how we operate here. And we operate at a very aerospace medical level where the tolerances that we're holding, I mean, we're holding, tenths of a thousands all day long. And that's just the expectation. And it's not just that. And then the one thing that I think that I try to talk to my guys about the most, and this is something that we had a really big discussion on the other day, was just, we want to have pride in the work that we do. And so it doesn't matter who the customer is, whether it's automotive, industrial, aerospace, or medical, everybody gets the same part. It's a beautiful, almost piece of art that we're creating each day, regardless of what the tolerances are. We have our set of tolerances, regardless of what whatever the customer
Right.
says.
Okay.
So we just maintain a high level across the board, so that way we're not having to shift back and forth between, well, we can get away with this here, or we can get away with that there. No, we don't get away with anything.
There's an absolute.
Yeah, there's an absolute, 100%. So, and we like to operate in that space because I think that sets just that expectation and that standard for us in this company, and that's why it looks like this. I feel like this is important for us to. It's not necessarily about an image, but I think that there is a level
It's about
of
a foundation.
yeah, the foundation, and there's something that's special when you can create an environment that I think people can see without actually coming into this space, and to see the work that we do, to just know when you look behind me, like, these guys must be doing something special to maintain a space like this. So I think that's an important.
So one thing that's coming out now, I'm going to ask now about kind of the traits that you need or you've needed to get to where you are now. But one thing I'm really feeling is consistency. So consistency in standards, consistency in mindset, consistency in operation, consistency in improvement as well. So everything's there, but it's a level of consistency and then a variation thereof. Which, is that fair to say? And what other traits do you think that have helped you to get to where you are today?
I think that consistency is key with anything, especially manufacturing. But there's a level of dedication that comes with that. I mean, you have to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to be willing to take on things that you're not, certain about. I mean, we take on challenges all the time where we haven't done it before, but I think that's what makes manufacturing so special, is that we're here to solve problems. We're here to accept challenges, and we're here to create something that other people can't. And so, that consistency with those things is always important, but there is a mindset that I think that you have to have, that, and a confidence that you need to have in this space, that that's another thing that I try to really cultivate with my team, is to, mistakes are going to happen. And I understand that, but at the end of the day, I'm there right behind them, right beside them, making sure that if they got questions, concerns, I want to be a support, so that way they get the confidence that they need to take on these challenges, because this is a challenging business. This isn't something I think that you can go into lightly, because we're making parts for planes, we're making parts for doctors, and we're making things that can save lives. So I think
Safety critical, life
yeah,
changing.
yeah. There's a huge value and importance to the things that we do, and I don't want that to be taken for granted. And I feel a lot of pride with our ability to do that. And so you set that tone and that expectation, and that going into it, you're not just coming in here to create a product, but you're creating something that could impact millions of people's lives, and I want to make sure that they know that.
And that definitely comes through just by the state of the shop behind you. So obviously now you're leading, and you're owning a business, you're leading a business, you're developing sales, you're doing everything that you can. Did you go to school for that, or are you literally shop taught? You've worked your way up, or did you go and get a degree or any kind of further education at all, or is it purely you've developed yourself through?
I went to a community college for a little while. That I was working third shift, and then I was going to college during the day. I was taking metallurgy and all the different, classes that I needed to get a base level certification. But once I realized that for me, I needed to be out on the shop floor. I needed that experience there. That was where I got most of my education, but I probably got a stack of certificates, a mile high, with all the softwares that I've been able to get proficient in, and all the classes that I've taken on 5S, obviously, and just understanding how to maintain a workspace. So, I mean, my 30 years in manufacturing, I'm still educating myself to this day. Anything that I can do to get myself in front of something that gives me an ability to become more proficient as a business leader. And I think that's really what I'm trying to do now, is just to become more proficient as a business leader and owner than I am as a machinist, even though I get up every day and I still love turning on a machine and cranking a spindle up, so there's something about that I'll probably never let go of. But I know that for me to be able to do something bigger than myself, I just need to get more, I guess, educated on how to lead a team of people and how to lead a company in a direction that can make a difference.
And I think that's important, that just that constant learning, constant development. I've been on my little journey with 3D printing probably for the last 4 or 5 years. I just genuinely enjoy it. I'm a model painter, and I've always made things. But I think knowing that the CAD CAM side, like you say, how you can apply it not just in an industrial environment but in the home. I've told us literally my desk is full of. I've got an old drill press here as my stand for my light and everything. Everything's held by brackets that I've designed on the CAD CAM system, or that I've modified, and that's just me, like a normal guy sat at home with the machine downstairs. And manufacturing is literally everywhere, but it's like learning new skills. Like I remember learning NC code when I was at college, kind of in the mid '90s, and learning what it was. But then obviously I don't work directly in manufacturing, so I stepped away. So when I started learning CAD CAM again and got back into G code, etc., and learning how it translates and the manipulation, and it's like that impacts your daily life. My wife says, "Oh, can you print me something for the kitchen, maybe a bottle stop or something simple like that?" Well, that needs to be made and designed and modified, and I've got to look at the extruder and the melt rates and the heat rates and the pull rates and the fan speed. And you got to think about that. Although the machine does it for you, I've got to think: is that right for this environment? Is my temperature flow right from the garage where the air's coming in? And I'm not an engineer, but it's something that you've picked up, and because I want to learn it, I've dedicated myself to go. If I'm going to learn it, let's do it properly. And you've done that, and then some. By what you guys have done.
Yeah, I'll have conversations with friends sometimes, and they'll ask me as far as like, "What do you do? What is your title?" And I almost loosely will say engineer, and they'll ask me where I went to school, and then I'll say, well, I didn't necessarily go to school to be an engineer, but at the same time, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I can tell you right now that there are things that I do with people that have gone to school as an engineer that they will call me and ask me to help them through a process, just because I have that real world experience that you can't get, in a book or behind a desk. And so I'm thankful for that. And, I think that that's something that a lot of times I struggled with as far as a young man, just feeling like I didn't get a education that was, I guess, recognized in the industry or recognized in general, that if I didn't go to college, then you're not as smart, or you're not as capable, or you're not as talented, or whatever that is. And I quickly realized at this point that I don't have to have all of those things to be successful, even though they're definitely a benefit. I don't I've got two daughters.
Essential. I don't have a degree.
Yeah. But I can definitely say that the things that we've been able to accomplish, and the company that I have behind me right now. It was, you just get up every day and you put in the effort and the hard work. And I think that right there alone, defines somebody's success. It's just getting up and doing work every day.
It is indeed. So it's clear. It's clear from obviously what you've told me so far that you've got a dedicated set of ethics behind you as well, which just comes through quite eminently. What made you take the leap from being, I believe, a manufacturing engineer into a company owner? Was there a catalyst? Was there a eureka moment? Was it a long-standing journey that you wanted to get to? What made you? I wouldn't say flick the switch, because I don't think you don't make the decision lightly.
No, it's definitely not a light decision. I had an opportunity at a very young age, when I was working for my family business. After about 7 years, it was at a point where it was going to go under, and I had the opportunity to take it over at that point. And I knew at that point that I wasn't ready for it. I had learned enough. I wasn't in a position to take on that kind of responsibility. And so I'm glad that I didn't, because I felt like I still needed more experience, and I needed to, follow this journey a little bit deeper before I went down that path. And I wasn't even 100% sure that I wanted to start my own company. But, after I went to a few other places and the culture didn't feel right, and the opportunities were never really what I was looking for, I just felt like I could create something, and I think there's always that, cockiness that you have as a machinist or something. I can do that. I can do this. And, and then there's that reality.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then there's that reality. I mean, I think that I can
Punch
count
you in
on,
the face, isn't it?
one hand how many times I've had a knot in my stomach that just made me sick. And the day that I left was, September 29th, 2016. And I had an entire day where I was like, I don't know. And then the next day it was gone. I had this calm about me. I felt like, okay, let's do this. Let's make it happen. And I never turned back. And that was, almost 10 years ago now. So I think that every place that I went had its purpose for me, and it had a place for me, but it wasn't ultimately where I wanted to be. And I mean, at this point, this is one of the best things that I can say is that I've worked for myself longer than I've worked for anybody else. And to say that it's just such a fulfilling thing to say, is that I've been able to create not just a workplace for myself, but a workplace for other people. And I take a lot of pride in being able to have people work with me and for me, that knowing that I'm taking care of other people's families and futures and giving them the opportunity that I always wanted as a machinist somewhere else that I couldn't get. So it's definitely, I don't know if there was necessarily that one moment where I said, yeah, I want to have my own shop. I think it was just kind of, you get to a point where you hit a wall and you say, I'm either going to accept that this is going to be my future, or I'm going to create a future for myself that gives me some options and possibilities that I may never have anywhere else.
I can empathize with that greatly, because I went through exactly the same thing, and I resigned on November the 2nd, 2019, and set up my own company just as COVID. So exactly the same kind of thing. You get to that in life and go, well, hang on, I'm hitting my late 30s. What do I do now? Is this it? Do I?
Yeah.
What is the for me? I'm kind of halfway, I guess, in my career. What's the next half? And no, like you, I decided to take what I'd learned in the same industry and go, I can do things, I think, better, differently, with it on a different path. But you got to go, man. But yeah, it hits you. And then literally, I think 3 months after I'd gone self-employed in the recruitment industry, in manufacturing, COVID hit us like a brick when you've got car payments, mortgage payments, to support.
Yeah.
So yeah, had to pivot. So I empathize with that and understand a lot.
Well, we definitely, I mean, it was when 2020 hit and COVID happened, I felt fortunate that we had a strong customer base at that point, because we'd already been in business for a handful of years. And that was actually the year we bought our first brand new machine. And so for me, yeah, I know it was like, and the sad thing is that the day that I bought that new machine, I think I lost a $30,000 contract. So it was like a bittersweet, moment where you're excited about
But you
something.
got a cool new machine.
Yeah, I got a cool new machine, so it all worked out. And I think that, we push forward through those moments. And I think that that's one thing that I've learned through this whole thing is you can't wait for the right time. You can't wait for things to be perfect. There isn't, and it'll never happen. And I think that's one thing that I have been good about is just, getting started and figuring it out as I go, and, just pushing forward, because I think that, making that transition and starting this company and doing what I did, it was definitely a very hard thing to do, because you have that comfort of working for someone else and just that security almost that kind of keeps you in that space. And, I've always been, I think,
It's like a mental lockdown, isn't it?
It is a mental.
Almost, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to. It's a mental lockdown.
It sure is, and it's something
place.
For me that, I mean, I do challenging things every day, not just in manufacturing, but just personally. And I think that doing challenging things every day makes it so that way I step into this environment and it doesn't feel as challenging. I come in the morning and I'll do 30 minutes of yoga and meditation just before I even get started, just to kind of set that tone for the day, clear my mind, and set an intention to know that, whatever happens, we're going to be able to push through it. We'll figure it out, and we'll just kind of go from there. So yeah, waiting for things, for me, I know that time is probably one of the most valuable things as I get older. And so I don't wait for anything anymore. I just go for it.
I think you have to. You really do as you start getting on. I had my mental health battles last year and changed the kind of things that I was doing, and it refocused me into my family, my daughter, my business, and made me think what's important. So everyone has these moments in life, but you put things off. I was nervous about it. Every time I come and speak to someone on this, I'm so nervous. This morning, I know it's just I've been recruiting for 20 years. I'm used to speaking to people, especially in the manufacturing industry, and I've been around probably a lot of shops. But this morning, I went to the gym, I had a sauna, I had a swim, then I walked the dog, I get myself into the mindset to do it correctly out of respect, really, because someone's taking their time to speak to me. So I almost think it's a pride thing. I'm still learning how to do this. I've done like 5 or 6 episodes, but I love speaking about manufacturing. And yeah, there is no right time. I think I woke up in April, talked to my wife, and go, I want to do this. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Never recorded a video. You figure it out, don't you, as you go? I was
Right.
just a guy with a camera, different level. But my point is that what you've said, there's no right time to do something. And the thing is, time's going to pass anyway. So
Right.
why don't you feel something that could be fulfilling and worthwhile for you and those around you?
No,
And
absolutely.
that's all we've got, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of responsibility from where you are now, because now you've got the responsibility. You said it's my I've read between the lines, and you're very proud of your employees and what you've got and what they've achieved with you. But you've obviously got the responsibility and pride of keeping the work throwing through the shop, keeping the standards in the shop, keeping them trained, keeping them motivated, keeping them engaged, but also developing the business as well and making sure there's a throughput of business, to secure their lives financially and developmentally, but also the business as well. And that's a lot to have, especially you mentioned you've got a family as well yourself. That's a lot to sit on. I say one person's shoulders, but I'm sure that there's a support network around you to manage that.
Well, I think that I definitely wear a lot more hats than I probably should. I mean, developing a team is a very challenging part of this process, because I think that this isn't for everybody. My facility isn't for everybody, just because we do set a different kind of expectation. And I think anytime that somebody comes in, I make sure that that's well known at the very beginning, because if you're ready for it, if you want this, then it's here for you, and you can go as far as you want to go, and I'll take you there, with me. But if there's any kind of space where you feel like, you just want to get into a routine, this isn't the place. We want to take things that make us uncomfortable. We don't want to feel complacent. We don't want to get stuck in, just a routine of doing things. We want to continue to grow and evolve, because if you don't, I think manufacturing, especially the way that technology changes so quickly, if you're not evolving your company and the way that you process and the way that you develop and all these, you'll just get left behind, and you'll just become another company that was and is gone. So, we are focused on trying to make sure that we recognize the changes in the industry. And I mean, I go to IMTS, every time that it's there, just to kind of get an idea of how the industry is evolving. And it's like you walk in there now, and just AI and automation and the way things are being done is so different. And I know that a lot of times when you talk about those things, if you're not used to them, then it's concerning, or you're worried, and I'm gonna lose my job. And we look at it as, oh, this is another tool, this is another resource, this is another way for us to become efficient. So we're excited, because we're going to be putting robots on the front of our machines, and we're going to be able to automate a lot of the processes to get more production out the door, to support more industries, to be able to just become more technologically advanced in a space that requires it. And rather than being afraid of it, we embrace it. And I mean, I use AI all the time, just to kind of, those are my support people, and all the
It's leverage.
it is. I mean, I have to leverage those, because as a small company,
Yeah.
I don't have the resources that some of these big companies do. And so we have to just be smart with the way that we do things. And luckily, I have been able to multitask in a fashion that I think most people would probably, they would run away. Yeah, they would implode for sure. Because I mean, my guys, they tell me, they're like, we love working here, but we would never want to do what you do. It is a lot. It is a lot. But I think that I thrive in this space, and it's something that I want, I'm passionate about, and I'll work for myself 15 to 18 hours a day, and I still have a smile on my face at the end of the day. So that pain is put on myself, but it's put on myself for them and for a bigger purpose. And sitting down here with you today is part of that purpose, to be able to share that, and to be able to let other people know that everybody has the capability to do something like this if they want it. And I think you just have to want it, and then you go after it, and doesn't matter who gives you, the negative comments, or they don't give you support or whatever. You believe in yourself and have confidence that you have the skills to do it, and just go after it, and you can create whatever you want.
Believe you can. I read something this morning in the UK newspapers, and it resonated with me. Similar to that in respect, and there's a young girl who she's just completed her college qualification. She's got her results this week, and she did 7 times the amount of subjects on average that someone would do, because she has an IQ which is higher than Stephen Hawking at the time, and she's kind of 18. And there's a phrase in the interview, and it resonated with me, and I've been thinking about it for the last hour or so, and it's burnout is a choice depending on your capability. Well, I'm not saying that, because I've been through there with burnout, but what she's saying, the level I got is you can push yourself further if you're willing to, because you realise where you can get to if you step to the brink and don't go over, and understand how to pull yourself back. It's what you said earlier, phrased differently, about your boundaries. If something comes into your shop and you guys haven't done it before, you haven't worked, you understand how to do it, and the next time that comfort zone has expanded. So you've spread it. But
100%.
what I find owning a small business is that when you wear all these hats, it's compartmentalization. You mentioned earlier that you obviously yoga for centering yourself, and you're creating your balance, etc. And it's probably something I should do. But do you find that hard, wearing all those hats and then going from Shane the engineer to Shane the father and husband? Do you find that difficult, or does he bleed over much?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I think
I empathise with that. I get it is.
Yeah, I think that everything that we do here, everything that I have to do is difficult. I don't think there's a day where it's like, man, that was an easy day. That was it is a challenge, and I'm okay with that. I want a challenge, because I think that I have one opportunity to make an impact, and I think if I'm making an impact, it's not going to be easy. It is going to be a challenge, and I think that those are the things that kind of separate people from becoming successful or not, is just being able to kind of embrace that challenge and know that it is going to be a difficult path, and there are going to be failures. I mean, I've got a list I could probably, and I'm writing a book right now, kind of just talking about my story, sharing from the beginning to where I am now, and all the struggles that we have had to go through to get to this point. But, some of those struggles are, the reason we're here today. I mean, 3 years ago in my old facility, we were 2 feet underwater. There was a flood that came through our area, and unexpected, one of those 100-year floods that you would have never expected something like to happen. And I mean, for me, it was just this moment of shock and devastation, because I had spent so much time creating something, and to see it right in front of me and be so helpless to control that and to be able to do anything to fix it. There was definitely a lot of thoughts going through my head at that point to say, is it time to throw in the towel? Should I give up? And as soon as my team got there, they said, let's fix it. And so it was just, we had already had that culture built into that point. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I couldn't have gotten through that without them. And, it was 16 days where we were squeegeeing, mopping. I was sleeping out in my truck, pumping water across a street just to try and get water out of the facility. And so, I mean, it was a pain point for us, but it was a really, I think, a huge pivot for us to recognize that we're in this for the long haul, and there's nothing that's going to be able to stop us. I mean, this building, there was a fire. I mean, I was buying this building, and they tried to burn it down when I was in the process of purchasing it. So, it's endless, but I think that it almost, at this point, it's funny. Yeah, it is. It is funny. It's like,
it's Murphy's Law. If it's going to go wrong, it's resilient. It's going to happen. Just deal with it, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think for us, we're just like, I don't know what else can go wrong at this point, because we feel like we've seen just about everything. But at the same time, we've seen a huge amount of success too. You talk about failure and everything, but some of the projects that we work on, some of the companies that we do business with, I mean, we touch a lot of spaces that it's just so fun for me, because here I am, this small company, and we make, some of the things that we make some camera housings that are in the pylons in the NFL. So when that replay is being done, at the goal line, just know that, it was us that was creating that, that housing that holds that camera that supports that replay, so
I'm a big Washington fan for my sins and have been for 30 years. So every time we're getting smashed, well, actually, we're doing all right at the moment. Every time we're getting smashed, I'll bear that in mind when we don't get
okay.
that call on the goal line. Just
There you go. There you go. Well, if the camera angle is right and you get the right result, you can thank me. But if it isn't, then I never said
it. No blame, absolutely, my friend.
Right,
no
right.
blame, man. No, it's cool.
So
Some
yeah,
fascinating things. There's something that you mentioned there. Someone much wiser than me, I heard, and it's a phrase that stood with me, and it's something that you said a few minutes ago. Is that the common phrase is, what was it? You only live once, and I think that's a very negative way of looking at things. The way it was reframed to me once, and it was, you only die once, but you live every day, and that seems to me the kind of ethos that you live your life.
Yeah.
It's a case of keep going, keep moving, keep pushing, keep challenging, take it on board, but keep on going. You live every day. Every day's a fresh start, and if it's going to happen, so what? Deal with it, move on, because we've got tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I probably read more books in the last 3 to 5 years than I've read in, my entire life, and not just business books, but just personal books, just so that way I can just develop myself as a man. And I mean, if you're looking for a place to grow outside of the military or any other, this is the spot. I tell you what, I have. I mean, I didn't have any gray in my beard when I started this company, and so I've earned some stripes through this process that I'm thankful for. Right, right. But I think that we're more capable than we give ourselves credit for. We were talking about that just a little bit ago, and so I like to put that in my mind whenever I'm facing a challenge, and just know that I'm more capable than whatever I'm facing, because I think at that moment you get overwhelmed with something, or you can feel the pressure of a moment and you can submit to that, or you can say, this is just a moment that I'm going through, and I know that I can get through this, and on the other side of that, there's something that's great that's going to happen, or there'll be change, or there'll be something that pushes you through. So I think that's something that I just get up every day, and I know that I'm capable of more than I give myself credit for, and I'm just going to keep pushing for greatness and trying to do something big with the opportunities that continue to present themselves to me.
I think that's a wonderful mindset. So when people come into your shop, or you speak to people locally, what are some of maybe the misconceptions that people have about manufacturing and your company until they come and see that beautiful shop?
I think that especially like the younger generation manufacturing, when they think about what a shop environment is, dark, it's dingy, you're standing and you're just pushing a button all day long, and there really isn't a thought process. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to think here. You have to be capable of, pushing and challenging yourself in this space. But I mean, I think that most people, they walk in here, they're definitely surprised, because we are a small shop. And when they come in here, they're not expecting us to be at this level. And so I love that. I love it that I can shock people when they walk in here and they can see that, man, there's something special here that I would have never, thought from the outside of the building coming in, that's what I was going to walk into. So we get really excited when people come in and they see the space for the first time, because their eyes get really wide and they're like, wow, what are you guys doing here? They want to know what our story is. They want to know how we got to this place, and they want to understand why aren't other shops like this? And I'm like, well, this is why I started.
Very good point.
I wanted to start my company because of that, because I felt like this is what it should be. This is what it could be. And as an owner, I'm not, I mean, obviously we're all here to, financially be able to provide for our families and take care of the things that we need to take care of. But for me, it's not about the money. It's more about the vision and the idea of what could be. And so, anything that I get financially, that I get any kind of blessings with, it goes right back into this place. Because if I can continue to keep developing this space, I think that it's going to pay me back tenfold, beyond money. So
beyond the financial.
Yeah, beyond the financial. So I'm hoping that I can do a lot over the next year to get as many students walking through this facility, so that way they can see things in real time, what a new manufacturing facility looks like, what it feels like, and the kind of production that can happen. I mean, we've got those machines behind me. Those are 5-axis machines that are doing some really complicated work, and a lot of medical components, microscopes, and things like that. So really, really neat things that people, I think, they have, tangible products that they can look at, and they can make a connection there and say, wow, I didn't realize that that's how that was made, or how that's the kind of equipment that could make that, and so on. And so, beyond just the students, I mean, I'm getting involved in as many trade shows as I can, and just kind of creating a presence in the area, so that way people know who we are and what we do. And then just my local community. I'm on a couple of boards here trying to just advocate for manufacturing and support the growth of manufacturing in our area, which the Michigan area is huge in manufacturing. I mean, this state is manufacturing. Yeah, and so I'm proud to be able to be a part of that, and not to just be a part of that, but to be kind of continue that on and to carry that torch into that next realm of what manufacturing is becoming.
And where do you think it is going in your experience? I mean, not just from a machining perspective. We touched AI, but where do you, in robots, cobots, etc. Where do you think that manufacturing is going in the next? I can't even say 5-10 years, because who in the heck knows? So
Sure.
Let's say 2-3 years. The near future. What do you think the next steps are? Sorry, for manufacturing.
I don't know. I try not to get too far ahead of myself and think about what could be or what's going to happen, and then it creates worry or concern, because I think there is kind of a concern.
Just manage what's in front of you.
Yeah, that's what exactly I've been trying to do, is manage what's in front of me, control what I can, and then react to the situations and changes as needed, because I think that's the only thing that I can really control, is my reaction to everything. And I think that's one thing that we have a strength in, is I'm not putting myself into a position where I'm creating panic and concern that may or may not ever exist. So
it's unnecessary. And
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that honestly, I'm excited to see where things go. I think at the level of technology that's going to be developed over the next, 2 or 3 years is going to change the way that we process things completely, to where I know that there's concern that, they're saying, well, people aren't going to be needed in manufacturing anymore, but people are going to be needed in manufacturing forever. I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think we're always going to be an intricate part of how manufacturing evolves, develops. And I think we're just going to have more advanced tools to be able to support it, to create things that, the world's never even seen before.
To leverage, to amplify, to multiply. Efficiency rates, to maybe go to even closer tolerances. It's going to be the step forward, but still the minds behind it.
Sure.
And people doing it, because I agree with you. I think that's powerful. What would you say or what do you say to people coming through, the local schools and the groups that you're into manufacturing, apart from obviously the cleanliness of your shop? What do you say? What do you say, guys? Try manufacturing, because what is your because?
I think that when it comes to my because for people, is just here's a place where you can create anything that you want. I think there's really no limitations within manufacturing. If you have any kind of creative ability, or if you have any kind of interest in taking something from nothing and turning it into something, you have that opportunity to do that within manufacturing at a high level, that you can, you have an idea, you have a vision, or if you have a passion about something, you can create it in this space. And it doesn't just have to be making parts for an automotive company or making parts for a medical company. I mean, we make parts for, the entertainment industry and stuff that impacts this younger generation, that they could really wrap their mind around, like, wow, I didn't know that is being done for,
impacts that by that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that anything that I think my energy generally is what impacts most people, is because when I get started talking about it, I get my excitement.
It comes through, man. That's
it definitely is something that I can't,
I love it.
I can't hold back, because I do truly love what I do. I get up every day.
It's genuine. It's evident.
I love coming in here. I love being able to, I do all sorts of personal projects myself, where I'm creating something just to create, and to know that I have that ability, and to have the tools to be able to do it. I mean, I'm so blessed to be in this position, and I think that's really one thing that I try to articulate to them is, here's an industry where you can, the possibilities are endless. It's your imagination and however far you want to take it.
It really is. To create and to build, it's wonderful. In COVID, while I was not as busy as I planned to be when I started my company, I bought an old minibus, a 15-seater from a charity, and I stripped it out, stripped it completely, all the seats, everything, and I rebuilt it as an off-road camper. And it took kind of about 6-9 months or so, but it was using everything that I've kind of learned, designed the 3D printer, getting the router, and I've got a wood shop downstairs, and I made all, the seats, the plumbing, the furniture, the cabinetry, just everything. And something that I was incredibly proud of, and I think that pride came through, and we documented it and we put it on Instagram. It was just to keep an eye so we wouldn't lose the photos. But I was really like, when I sold it a year later, because I bought another van, there were people from around the world saying, I'll buy it blind without seeing it. And I was like, it was quite humbling. So that's not why I did it, but I
Mm,
actually felt really proud of what I achieved. Just a guy wanted a project to do and people like it. That's not what it was for, but I
right.
would be lying if I say I wasn't proud.
Sure.
And obviously you're doing that every day. I did it once.
Oh, no,
So
absolutely. I mean,
it's huge.
I think that, the trades are becoming, I think, a little bit more, I think they're being pushed a lot more and they're trying to bring students back into
There's
this.
something starting. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
it's
is.
something that's
It's good to
definitely
see.
happening. Yeah, exactly. And I definitely want to be a part of that. So that way, this space, I mean, there's all sorts of different trades out there, and I think they're all great and everything that, people can do without feeling like they have to get a degree and still make a huge impact in this space. I want to make sure that manufacturing is on that list and on people's radar to know that you can
Absolutely.
have a career and a future and a bright future that your family can depend on. So anything that I can do to push manufacturing, I'll be doing that probably till the day that I die, just because I've invested my life into it, and there's not a day that goes by that I'm not proud of the effort of what manufacturing has done for me and my family.
You and me both in our different unique ways. So Shane, if you weren't in manufacturing, if you weren't running that amazing shop, employing those amazing people, making those amazing parts and amazing industries, and making sure Washington get that first down, thank you very much. What would you be doing if you weren't doing all those cool things? What would you be doing?
You know what? I'm not really sure what I'd be doing, but I'm an adventurer. I'm an explorer, and I think there's just that same thing where I just challenge myself personally. I'd be creating something. I think that
Yeah, it's
I'm
in
an
your
art.
blood, isn't it?
It is in my blood, and I feel like I'm an artist at heart. When I'm not here creating, I might be at home painting, or I just bought some pottery wheels, and I'm going to
Wow,
be doing some pottery here. I mean, I'm opening that up to my team too, because I feel like we use this really technical side of our brain, and so I want to make sure that we can
it's a good
balance that.
outlet.
Yeah, it's a great outlet, but I definitely want to see the world and get out there and explore, because I feel like those are kind of things that open your mind to different ways of looking at things and
They do.
different ways of living, and so. I hope that I can do that now, and I'm thankful for just all of my years in manufacturing. And for me to think of something else, like I don't know if there's anything else that I'd want to put myself into doing, just because this has been such a special place for me.
Well, I'm going to flip it. That's amazing to hear. And it's if I wasn't a recruiter, hopefully I'd be where you're sitting now and be an engineer, creating, making, because it drives me and it's something that I'd love to do. But now it's wonderful. So, kind of as a final thought, if a 17-year-old Shane was sat here listening to this in whatever medium, what would you say to him? Given all
Um,
your years of experience.
It's interesting because I just had a guy the other day that he had sent a message to me, and he said, is your younger self looking at you now, and is he proud of what you've done? And I thought about that a lot, and that impacted me because I think that there was a lot of times where I wasn't confident in myself and my abilities. And there was a lot of things that I needed to go through and struggle through to become who I am now. But I think that I would just tell myself that, just stay confident in your abilities and stay true to what you feel passionate about, and don't worry about what anybody says. Don't be concerned with anybody else's path. You have your own path, and follow that, because I think that everybody has their own path, and none of those, everybody's path is their own path, and it's right for them. this was right for me. And I just think that I would just reinforce that to myself to say, hey, stay on the path and believe in what it is that you're doing, and know that what you feel inside is right.
No, that's wonderful advice. There's something that I heard the other day which resonated with me. It's very similar, and it was when you're worried about others. And it's a case of if someone wouldn't speak at your funeral, their opinions can't guide your life. Yeah,
That's amazing.
That hit me right between the eyes.
I love getting advice from people, and I love getting suggestions from people. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm the one that's getting up every day and putting that foot forward. Yeah, exactly, and that's making the impact and the change in my life. And I'm willing to fail through all of that to grow, and hopefully it puts me in a place to where I can potentially teach other people, to avoid certain things, or give them some guidance on their path. But everybody again has their own journey, and I think that's it's what's special. It's what's special.
You're certainly doing a great job and having a great impact on people. So thank you. So in terms of if anyone wants to find out a bit more about what you're doing, your company, Machining Momentum, where can they find you?
They can go to machiningmomentum.com. They can go and find me on LinkedIn. Look for Shane Grant. You can find me on TikTok. I think if you want to watch some of the flood, you can go there. You can find all about the flood. It's Mr. Machine Man there at TikTok, Instagram.
I'll put some links.
Yep, Instagram, Facebook. I'm pretty much on all socials. You can find me out there. And it's something that I try to share a different perspective on each one of them, because I think that there's a different way to engage in each one of those platforms. And I try to show the fun side of manufacturing and the light side of manufacturing on my TikToks. I like to, LinkedIn is a very professional space for me, where I can make good connections, and I can kind of showcase the quality and the high level precision work that we do, and just kind of share our story to a group of professionals. But then if you go to the website and you check out what we do, it's just a platform where we showcase, the space that we're in, and the work that we've accomplished. And another place is Titans of CNC. That's another great platform, and I'm hoping to push that as well. I'm going out there in November to participate that again. I'm one of the only people here in Michigan that's certified in that program, and they're great.
They're doing some great things.
Oh yeah, there's the free education that's out there right now is just amazing.
It's great,
and they're high level tools, and so I hope that people are reaching out to those spaces. And if you follow my LinkedIn or any of my posts, you'll probably be able to find some of that there that can connect you with some spaces and places for getting the education about what manufacturing is and what you can do with it.
Wonderful. Well, Shane, thank you so much. I'll be sure to share all that. So basically, you've had a wonderful journey. I've loved speaking to you, and now I will now know you as the guru of CNC machining, the yogi of manufacturing, and an altogether amazing human being. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Shane. Wow, how cool, Shane, man.